So here's a question. How are you spending your Friday night? Well, I'm going to bed in London, but I'm going to be waking up in Scotland. Welcome to Travelcaster, the travel pod that takes you there.
Today we're travelling on the Caledonian Sleeper between London and Scotland. It's one of only 2 night train services in the UK, the other linking the capital with Penzance in southwest England. Sleeper trains are a great way of getting from A to B because you're not just paying for a ticket, you're also getting a night's accommodation. So join us on the journey.
The Caledonian Sleeper runs 6 nights a week from London Euston to various destinations in Scotland. We'll tell you more about those later in the podcast. Here's the thing though, compulsory reservations. You can't just rock up and get on the train at any time you like. And that's because the accommodation is laid out in very specific configurations. Now, if you have a club class room, you can use the lounge at London Euston, which opens at 6 p.m. Inside you'll find some comfy seating, some free snacks and a paid menu if you want to eat before you board the train. Food is available on board the train as well, more of that later too. But this is the place to start your journey and relax before getting on board the Sleeper. Now, boarding starts about half an hour before the Sleeper leaves each night, and there are different classes of accommodation. Down at this end of the train, we've just got regular seats that don't recline, and they're a very cheap and efficient way of travelling. Next up, we've got the classic rooms on a corridor like this. Now, these rooms have 2 bunk beds, one above each other, but they don't have a bathroom. There's a shared bathroom at the end of the corridor. I plumped for the slightly more luxurious with a small L accommodation down here. If we go down to room number 5, you get a little card key like a hotel. Click the card on the door and in we go to our club room. Now, these are the same size as the classic rooms. They're fairly basic and compact, but they have the addition of this, an ensuite toilet, which will flush in a moment. And if you lift it down, if you lift the lid down from the toilet, on this end, you got a shower. Just about enough room to swing the proverbial cat and to flush your whatsits down the toilet. But the beds themselves, 2 bunk beds, one above each other, they're all set out and come complete with bedding and pillows and a nice firm mattress. As I say, a little bit compact, but a very ergonomic room. And I say that because everything is really at the touch of a button. Behind me, I've got 2 lights. One is the main light, which I can dim and have a bit of a mood about the place. There's a reading light, which is very useful indeed, slightly adjustable as well for the angle. Next to that, a couple of USB ports, and below that is a temperature control, so you can have the air conditioning at your desired setting. At the other end of the bed, there are 2 3-pin plugs, so you can plug your devices in, and a little shelf at the side to rest your devices in so you don't end up sleeping on them and breaking them. And right at the end of the room is this, a sink with a trickle of water and a rather nice window looking out onto the landscape, which we'll talk about in a bit. That water is making me want to go to the toilet.
Tonight, we're rolling back to 1873, when the very first Scottish sleeper service rumbled out of Glasgow Queen Street, bound for London. Back then, luxury meant your seat folded flat for the night, and you paid a 10-shilling supplement for the privilege.
As the decades rolled on, These overnight trains became icons of style and intrigue. By the 1920s, names like the Royal Highlander and the Night Scotsman promised teak-lined cabins, carpeted corridors, crisp linen and uniformed stewards.
Through wars, railway reforms and changing technology, the Anglo-Scottish Sleeper endured. A service has run almost continuously along the West Coast Main Line since 1873, making it one of Britain's longest-standing rail traditions.
So just settling into the room now, and there's one or two nice little touches here that they've got. We've got a couple of bottles of drinking water, which is important because the water in the sink isn't for drinking. It says that quite clearly. There's a little packet of Scottish fudge. 2 whole pieces of fudge. How generous they are. And over here is a little utility kit, which is basically a sleep mask with Caledonian Sleeper branding on it. That's rather nice. And some earplugs as well. Now, they could come in handy a bit later because the train does tend to rattle about. This is a moving bit of transport. It is not like a normal hotel. But once you've settled into your room, well, the night is still young. It's still barely 9:15, and we've just pulled out of Euston Station. So I think it's time to go and find some entertainment on board, or at the very least some food. Because this is where it happens, the club car, the centre of the dining and drinking experience above the sleeper, and it can get quite busy. It's fairly busy already tonight. We're just a few minutes into the journey and quite a few people are already enjoying a few snifters and ordering some haggis, neeps and tatties, or maybe a cheese plate to get the journey underway. Now, the thing to bear in mind is that the club car can get quite busy, so my advice is to come here as soon as you board. Just put your stuff in your cabin, come down here and make sure you get a seat nice and early. Priority access is given to those in the club rooms, so if you're in the seated section of the train, you won't get automatic access to this area. If it's too busy, you may be asked to come back a bit later by the helpful waiting staff, for instance. But it's all very convivial, and it closes at 1 a.m. Now, through every step of your journey on the sleeper, there are loads of very helpful and friendly staff to guide your way, which is just as well. You want to make sure that you are in the exact right section of the train. And here's why it's important, because in the wee small hours when we get to Edinburgh, this 16-car train is going to divide into 3 separate portions. 2 of them are going to go off to Aberdeen and Inverness, and the one I'm in is hopefully going to go all the way to Fort William. This is the unique thing about the sleeper. It's only 2 trains, but it goes to 5 different destinations. The other train that leaves at Euston a little bit later goes to Glasgow and Edinburgh. That's the Lowlander service. We're on the Highlander service. And another edition for 2026 is here. We're just after 10:30 and the train has shuddered to a halt at Birmingham International. This is a brand new calling point for 2026, designed to allow passengers from the Midlands not to have to travel all the way down to London to go all the way back up to Scotland. Now, we've stopped here at Birmingham International. I'm just going to peek out the door to see if we're picking up any passengers at all. I wonder, is anyone getting on here? Is anyone getting on in Birmingham, do you know?
There is.
There is.
I have 4 rooms.
4 rooms! So, and
yes.
we're recording this in January, and in fact, this is only the 2nd night you've stopped at Birmingham.
It is, yes.
So is it proving popular already, do you think?
I think so. I think so far what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to see this as a different opportunity, because previously it was London, Preston, Crewe, but Birmingham also has great links with the airport, so I think people will find this very handy when flying in to the UK.
You're going to attract the tourists, aren't you? The Americans, the Irish, the French, the Italians.
Everyone.
There's all sorts of nationalities on board already. I've heard a few accents.
We've got all sorts to see. We do often attract a mix of different people to come up to my home, the Scottish Highlands.
Do you enjoy doing this job?
I do. It is a very good number, I can't lie.
I can hear it in your voice and I can see it in your face.
Oh, that's good.
And what's your first name?
It's Megan.
Megan, I'm Kevin.
From Fort William.
Megan from Fort. Well, that's where I'm off to, Megan, so thank you very much.
You're stuck with me all night then.
Okay, thanks then, Megan. Can you hear that? It's 4 a.m. and we're at Edinburgh Waverley Station on our way to Fort William. But this is where the train stops and divides into its 3 component parts to go to Fort William, Inverness and Aberdeen. And for some reason, there's a loud electrical buzzing noise. I think in the station, possibly on the outside of the train, because this is where the train is dividing and we're getting a new locomotive that's going to put us forward from here. And it's all very well, but it's this continuous buzzing noise. Whatever it is, it's deeply annoying and it's woken me up from my sleep. Talking of sleep, though, has to be said, it's not exactly easy getting a comfortable night's sleep. Yes, the bed is nice enough. Yes, the room is warm enough. And yes, it is insulated and reasonably soundproof. But there's no getting away from the fact you're on railway lines. And they twist and curve and have points and lots of connections. And the carriages do rattle from side to side and forwards and backwards. And there are a couple of stopping points beyond Birmingham in places like Crewe and Preston and even Carlisle, where they change the crew. And each time that happens, when the train grinds to a halt, you can feel it happening and it kind of wakes you up from whatever sleep you're in. So not exactly ideal. As I say, it's 4 o'clock. We're not into Fort William till 10, but I'm planning to get up, well, in a couple of hours' time, because I do want to see the sun come up. Because once we're out of here in Edinburgh and going towards the Highlands, the scenery's hopefully going to get a lot better, and I'll be more awake than I am right now. Well, it's Saturday morning. We are in Scotland, and we have just passed the Bridge of Orkney station. You can hear the doors closing behind us as we power through the Highlands. It's a little bit damp this morning, but I'm told it is dry in Fort William, which is the main thing. The sun is trying to rise. It's going to be a light in about 15 minutes. And as we come up to the Bridge of Orkney here, there's the most amazing view of snow-capped hills and mountains around us. We really are getting deep into the Highlands now. Now, the 4 o'clock wake-up call wasn't too bad. I managed to get back to sleep, but I was awake again by 7. I've just had my breakfast, and there are 2 choices if you are staying in a cabin. You can have your breakfast in the club car, which I did. But if you are staying in one of the cabins, you get the option of having your breakfast in bed. We're now winding through an ever more beautiful and stunning landscape. Having crossed much of Rannoch Moor, we're coming towards the edge of it, and you can see the moor falling away into the distance. But we are getting higher as well. All of the melted snow and sleet has turned to ice, puddles of peat before me, and a whole shelf of hilltops dappled in snow before us. It is beautiful. And we are approaching what is the UK's highest railway station, and one of the most remote. 408 metres above sea level, Carrour Station, as I say, one of the most remote in the whole of the UK. Unfortunately, it's got a very short platform as well, which meant we weren't able to get off the train and do a little bit of a link and take some photos. But what there is here is, well, nothing really for miles around. You can only get here by train or bike or on foot. There is, however, a rather pretty station building which has been converted in recent years into a bed and breakfast and a restaurant, and people come from miles around, mainly by train, to come and eat here and to stay overnight as well in the season. A bunch of hardy walkers just got off the train, and in the distance, about half a mile away, I can see Loch Ossian, which is one of the most wonderful inland locks in this part of the world. There's a little youth hostel right on its edge, and legend has it there are deer running wild here. Legend has it that one of the deer often pops into the youth hostel for a cup of tea. It's the kind of thing that happens up here. Here at Travelcaster, we pride ourselves on honesty and independence. We're not paid to do these trips, but we like to tell you the truth about them. Now, it has to be said, there are cheaper ways of travelling between London and Scotland. I could have got a flight today for £15, but instead I came on the Sleeper. And yes, the Sleeper is sold as your travel and accommodation all in one, so you are saving on those hotel bills. But even with a 20% discount, thanks to a sale price that I managed to obtain, this room was still £210 for the night, around about £250 at full price, which is quite a lot for a bunk bed, a shower, and a breakfast when you think about it. But it does include those hundreds of miles of travel, and it's going to include some rather stunning views as well. Now, it's down to you to weigh up which you think is the better value and the better way of seeing the country. I would just say, if you've got a bit of time on your hands and you're able to sit back and relax and enjoy the experience, do it this way if you can. And here we are, 13 hours after leaving London Euston at the end of the line, Fort William Station in the heart of the Highlands. It's got to be said, the station itself isn't the grandest that you'll ever arrive at, but it's nice enough, and importantly, there's a first class lounge, so if you've been in one of the club cars, you can get a free cup of tea and even a shower and a snack, and that's exactly what I'm going to do now. You're listening to Travelcaster, today coming to you from Fort William in the Scottish Highlands. To find out how to get here and for tips of what to do when you arrive, head to travelcaster.blog. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. So Fort William may have been the end of the line as far as the Caledonian Sleeper is concerned, but there's much more to discover in this part of Scotland. A short train ride away has taken me here to the stunning Glenfinnan. Now, if you're into your Jacobite history, you'll know the importance of this place. Or, alternatively, if you're a fan of Harry Potter, you'll also know this place because the Glenfinnan Viaduct is where the famous Hogwarts Express went round in that stunning shot. Now, there's no Jacobite steam train running at this time of the year in January, but there is at other times of the year, and you can be Harry Potter or Ron Weasley yourself. Or you can just take the local train, which runs 3 or 4 times a day between Fort William and Mallaig. Now, of course, crossing the viaduct by train is special enough, but the real money shot is from above or below. And if you get off at Glenfinnan station and follow this viaduct trail, it takes you up a rather steep hill to the side of the line, right up over the moor, and in about 20 or 30 minutes time we're hoping to get that view that we came for. Well, we've been walking for about 20 minutes now, a little bit breathless, along a very rocky, steep, slippery path that goes right above the railway at Glenfinnan. And before me are the most beautiful sights and sounds. First of all, listen to that. A stream coming down the mountain, filtering through the peat, probably good enough to drink. I'm not going to risk it myself. But before me are 2 huge mountains, one of them peaked with snow, sweeping down to the beauty that is Loch Shiel. This is the Highland picture postcard that you come here for. And the great thing about doing it at this time of the year in January is that actually today's quite a mild day. The weather is clement, it's dry, it's a little bit cloudy, but it's really quiet. I've only seen 3 or 4 other walkers. Below me there's a visitor centre where I can see a coach, but that's probably full of day trippers who won't come anywhere near this high up. I could stay here all day. I might do that. And after a steady walk of 45 minutes, we've arrived here over the famous Glenfinnan Viaduct. It curves in a kind of horseshoe shape around the valley above Loch Shiel, and some of the most famous photographs, of course, are when those steam trains are coming across it. Sadly, we're in January, they don't run at this time of year, but if you're lucky enough to see one crossing it, get that photo while you can. Of course, many people don't get the photo because they're on board the train and therefore don't get to see it. They see the viaduct from the train itself, which is an interesting viewpoint, but I think the real money shot is to get off the train at Glenfinnan station, make this 45-minute walk if you can, and just stand in awe at this brilliant feat of engineering. It's amazing. Now, once you've seen the viaduct from above, a path takes you steeply downwards to below it, giving you another alternative view of this structure. Built in 1901, or completed in 1901, it was the mastermind of Robert McAlpine, the very well-known construction person of that era. And after you've come underneath the viaduct, you take this very pleasant walk along the path where the River Finnan, as in Glenfinnan, flows alongside. It is beautiful and crystal clear. And at the end, there's a little bridge that goes over to a car park where helpfully there is a visitor centre and cafe, just the place for coffee and cake or tea and a toastie while you await your return train to Fort William, or perhaps another train on to Mallaig. And if you're feeling very adventurous, you can even complete the connection by ferrying, going over the sea to Skye. Glenfinnan's a great day out and fairly easy when it comes to walking. If you are more adventurous, though, Fort William is right at the base of Ben Nevis, with the Great Mountain itself and plenty of ranges around to explore. There's also a gondola that runs at most times of the year. You'll need to book your tickets in advance to use that, and it may be closed at certain times if the snow's particularly heavy, for example. Plenty of choice then to see in and around this part of the Highlands, and for more inspiration of how to get here and what to do when you arrive, check out travelcaster.blog. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and join us again soon for another edition of Travelcaster, the travel pod that takes you there.